It begins so quietly you almost miss it. A single sound, light as breath. A drop of water falls through the air, colliding with the earth. The soil darkens at its touch, a tiny circle spreading outward. That is the beginning, the first raindrop, carrying with it the memory of oceans, rivers, clouds. You close your eyes, listening. At first, there is space between each drop, as if the sky is hesitating, not sure if it should let go. Then, gradually, the rhythm builds. Drop by drop, the silence dissolves into music. Soon the rain is a curtain, soft and endless, stretching between you and the world. Rain is not just water. It is history, it is cycle, it is connection. Every drop you hear has traveled a journey longer than you can imagine. Perhaps it began in the sea, warmed by sunlight, lifted invisibly into the sky. Perhaps it drifted for days, riding the wind, condensing into a cloud. Now it falls again, surrendering back to earth, beginning the cycle anew. This endless motion, water rising, water falling, is called the water cycle. You could call it the planet's heartbeat. The ocean exhales, the clouds inhale, and the rain is the sigh in between. Without it, there would be no rivers, no forests, no life. Every sip you take, every breath of damp air, every rustle of leaves in the rain, all of it is part of the same rhythm. You let the sound sink into you. The rain outside is steady now, almost like a metronome. Each drop strikes with a delicate percussion, together forming a lullaby. Your body responds without effort. Your heart slows, your breathing deepens. This is because rhythm comforts the brain. Just as a steady drumbeat can calm a restless mind, the repetition of rain tells your body, it is safe to rest. Imagine each drop as a tiny messenger, carrying not only water, but also memory. Science tells us that the water falling tonight is not new. It is the same water that once touched the skin of ancient creatures, that once flowed through the roots of prehistoric forests. Water does not disappear, it only changes form. When you hear rain, you are hearing echoes of a history older than mountains. Think of the way a raindrop forms. High in the clouds, water vapor gathers around the smallest of seeds, not a seed from a plant, but a microscopic speck, a grain of dust, a particle of salt lifted from the sea, even fragments of pollen floating invisibly in the air. Around this nucleus, water condenses, building layer upon layer until the weight is too much to hold. Then, gravity calls it downward. That is how a drop is born, delicate, ordinary, yet carrying the vastness of sky within it. When the drop falls, its shape is not the teardrop you might picture. In truth, raindrops are nearly spherical as they leave the cloud. Only as they tumble through the air, pressed by resistance, do they flatten, like a bun rising in the oven. If large enough, the drop wobbles, shivers, and sometimes breaks into smaller ones. Each fall is a journey of change, a brief dance with air before surrendering to the earth. The soil that receives the drop responds too. When dry, the ground drinks greedily, each pore opening to catch the gift. You might smell the rain before you see it, that earthy fragrance called petrichor. It comes from oils released by plants and by a special molecule created by soil-dwelling bacteria. When raindrops strike the earth, they release these hidden scents, carrying them upward to your waiting nose. It is nature's perfume, a reminder of growth and renewal. You breathe in slowly, imagining that smell, that freshness after a long dry day. Your mind softens, your shoulders lower. Science becomes not numbers and formulas, but sensations you can feel in your chest. Rain is explanation made tangible. It tells you of chemistry and biology through sound, through scent, through touch. The more you listen, the more the rain becomes a language. Tap, 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 fast on the rooftops, slow on the leaves. Each surface creates its own tone. A forest during rain is like a symphony, deep drumbeats of drops on broad leaves, quick flutters on needles, muted rhythms on moss. If you were to close your eyes in a storm, you could map the shapes of the world around you just by the way the rain plays its instruments. Some scientists call this acoustic ecology, the study of how sound tells us about the health of an environment. A healthy forest has a rich, layered rain song. A barren place has only the hollow echo of drops on stone. Tonight, as you listen, you are part of that ecology. Your ears collect data, your mind translates it into comfort. And comfort is important. You may not realize it, but rain does more than water the earth. It regulates the air you breathe. As raindrops fall, they sweep dust and particles from the sky, cleansing it. After a storm, the air feels sharper, lighter, easier to draw into your lungs. Your body knows this relief, even if your mind does not name it. Everywhere, rain connects. A drop that falls on a mountain may someday flow to the sea, carrying minerals that feed plankton, which in turn feed fish, which in turn feed you. That same drop may evaporate again, rise again, fall again, touching countless lives across centuries. The cycle is endless, and you are part of it. And so, as you listen, the stories begin. The rain tells not only of water, but of time, of memory, of connection. You feel it wrap around you like a curtain, soft and protective, yet humming with something just beyond reach. There is a quiet edge here, where the soothing rhythm holds hands with shadow. The night is young, and the storm has more voices to reveal. Somewhere beyond the rain, a faint glow stirs in the mist, a lantern waiting, flickering, calling you forward. The storm has softened, though the world does not feel entirely clear. The rain is gentler now, falling in threads rather than sheets, yet something lingers in the air, a heaviness, a presence. The path before you winds into a haze, a pale curtain of mist, so thick that it seems to swallow the edges of the world. And there, in that grayness, a lantern glows. Its light trembles, never still, as though the fog itself breathes and bends around it. You cannot tell how far it is, a few steps ahead, or many. In mist, distance plays tricks on the eyes. Things near can look distant, things far can seem to hover at your side. It is the atmosphere bending light, scattering it, reshaping what you see. Mist is only water, but in one of its gentlest disguises. Tiny droplets float in the air, so small they weigh almost nothing. They drift and linger, held aloft by currents too weak to notice. Each droplet is like a miniature lens, bending and scattering light. When millions of them hang together, the world itself changes. Edges blur. Colors soften. Sound grows muffled, as though every stone and tree is wrapped in cotton. You breathe the mist in. It cools your throat, beads against your skin. Science tells you that these droplets are less than 1/100th of a millimeter wide. They are clouds brought down to earth, sky descended to ground. You are walking, in a sense, inside the atmosphere's dream. The lantern glows more brightly now, or perhaps you are drawing nearer. Its flame flickers as if caught between presence and absence. In human history, lanterns have always meant two things: guidance and warning. A light in the dark tells you where the path is, but it also tells you where danger waits. Sailors once trusted lanterns hung high on cliffs to mark the shore, yet also feared the false lanterns set by wreckers, luring ships onto rocks. Light, in fog, is never simple. Your eyes strain to hold on to it, but the fog makes vision slippery. You think about how the human eye sees. The lens focuses light onto the retina, where millions of photoreceptors wait. Rods for dim light, cones for color. But mist scatters that light before it ever reaches you. It washes away contrast, dims the brightness. That is why everything looks like a ghost of itself. It is not your imagination. The world truly is fainter. Your body adjusts in other ways. With vision dulled, hearing grows sharper. The sound of the rain around you deepens, softened but amplified, as though the mist is shaping sound as well as sight. Scientists know this is true. Mist absorbs high frequencies, muffling crisp details, while letting the lower notes carry farther. That is why, in fog, a bell's toll sounds distant yet hollow, and footsteps echo longer than they should. You pause and listen. Somewhere within the haze, you hear the faint patter of drops on leaves, the drip of water from branches, the distant splash of a hidden stream. Each sound is slow, almost reluctant. In fog, time itself seems to slow. Your breath matches it, falling into rhythm. The lantern still glows, a fragile warmth in the cold. You feel drawn toward it, though not hurried. In bedtime journeys, there is no urgency, only drifting. Each step is soft, absorbed by the damp earth. Your body feels heavier, yet lighter at once, the strange balance of being cradled by the world. You think about why mist feels so otherworldly. It is not only the way it blurs sight and sound. It is also what it does to memory. The brain, when deprived of sharp details, begins to fill in its own. You imagine shapes that may not exist, a figure half seen in the distance, a shadow moving at the edge of vision, a voice carried where no one stands. This is not superstition but science. The human mind seeks patterns, even in randomness. When the world is vague, your imagination becomes the lantern, painting images onto the blankness. Yet in that uncertainty, there is also peace. Mist invites you to let go of precision. You do not need to see every edge, every detail. You can rest in softness, trust the blurred outlines. Just as sleep itself is a mist between waking and dreaming, this fog is an in-between space where reality loosens, and you are allowed to drift. The lantern is closer now. You notice the way its flame bends and wavers with each shift of air. Fire needs oxygen, and mist holds plenty. But droplets can smother flame too, cooling it, dimming it. The flame fights gently, flickering but persisting, just as your own wakefulness flickers in this slow descent toward sleep. Science tells us that light itself bends in mist. It creates halos, coronas, strange illusions. Sometimes, a bright light may wear a ring, like a ghostly crown. Other times, your shadow, cast against the fog by lantern or moon, grows enormous, rimmed by rainbow. Travelers once saw these fog bows in specters and thought them spirits. In truth, they are the dance of light with water, physics turned into poetry. You imagine, for a moment, that the lantern ahead of you might be more than flame. Perhaps it is refracted light, an illusion cast by drops in the air. Perhaps it is real. In mist, the boundary between illusion and presence is delicate. And yet, whether real or imagined, the light soothes you. That is what matters. You stand still, allowing the glow to settle into you. The fog presses around, soft but impenetrable. Everything else has vanished: trees, road, horizon. There is only mist, rain, and light. You are wrapped, as though in the folds of a dream, held safely. Your body knows this feeling too. Mist increases humidity, easing the breath, soothing the throat. Air this damp slows evaporation from the skin, making you feel warmer despite the chill. It is gentle medicine, hidden in the weather. Every inhalation carries not only moisture but tiny particles of soil, salt, even fragments of life carried from distant places. Each breath is connection. Each breath is story. The lantern flickers once more, as though signaling. You take another step, and another, not to chase it, but to walk alongside its rhythm. In fog, movement feels like floating. You could be standing still, and the world might be drifting past you. You release the need to measure. You allow yourself to drift. The rain continues softly, whispering on the surface of the mist. Each drop seems to disappear faster, absorbed into the haze. Somewhere beyond your sight, the world continues, but you are not required to hold it all in view. You are allowed to rest in half-seeing, half-knowing. The lantern dims, or maybe the mist grows heavier. You do not fight the change. You let the edges dissolve, let the flame become part of the fog itself. Your body eases, your mind loosens, your breath deepens. The haze is no longer barrier, but comfort. You realize something: sometimes clarity is not what you need. Sometimes it is gentleness, softness, and mystery. In the absence of sharpness, you find space to breathe. You do not need to see everything tonight. And still, even in the quiet, there is the sense of presence, a whisper just beyond the mist. A voice, perhaps, threading itself between raindrops and glass. You pause, listening. The next story waits at the window, the lantern fades into mist behind you, dissolving into memory, and now you find yourself before a window. The glass is cool beneath your hand, a thin barrier between you and the restless storm outside. Rain gathers, then runs in tiny rivers across its surface. Each drop leaves behind a fleeting trail, a signature that vanishes almost as soon as it forms. The sound is steady, yet never the same. Some drops fall in rapid bursts, like hurried words. Others linger, sliding slowly, as though reluctant to let go. Tap, 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 silence, then tap again. It is as if the storm is speaking, syllable by syllable, in a language you almost recognize. Your ear presses closer. You begin to hear something within the rhythm, not only water, but tone, shape, and echo. The glass vibrates, ever so slightly, with each impact. Sound, after all, is nothing but vibration. When the rain strikes the pane, energy ripples outward, passing through air, wood, and bone. You don't just hear it. You feel it. This is the nature of sound, air in motion, pressure waves rising and falling, touching the hidden instruments of your ear. The drum of the eardrum, the spiral of the cochlea, the delicate hairs that bend and whisper messages to the brain. Every raindrop is a musician, every windowpane a stage. The rhythm aligns with your body. You notice how your pulse slows to meet the tapping, how your breath steadies with the patter. The brain loves patterns. Even when randomness rules, it searches for meaning. That is why you hear whispers in the rain, voices in the hum of a fan, melodies in the rustle of leaves. It is not a trick, it is the creativity of your mind, weaving comfort out of chaos. You close your eyes, and the window becomes something more. The tapping turns into soft words, gentle and close. Perhaps they are fragments of memory, voices from long ago. Perhaps they are echoes of ancestors, who also once listened to rain on walls and roofs, hearing company in solitude. Rain has always been a companion. Long before electricity, long before books, long before the glow of screens, the storm was there to keep vigil through the night. The glass holds you apart from it. A thin sheet, clear but strong, separating you from cold, wet air. You think about what glass really is, sand transformed by fire. Silica heated until it melts, then cooled into clarity. In truth, glass is not entirely solid, not entirely liquid. It is an amorphous solid, molecules frozen in disorder. That is why it can be transparent, why it bends light, why it lets you see the storm without stepping into it. The rain against glass makes you aware of this paradox, protection and exposure at once. You are safe inside, yet the outside presses close, only a breath away. This duality is part of what makes the moment tender, even haunting. You hear the storm intimately, but you remain untouched. Some drops cling to the window, gathering weight, then sliding down in curving paths. Others race, joining into rivulets, crossing one another like lines of a map. You could trace them with your eyes, like constellations. Scientists call this behavior surface tension, the way water clings to itself, forming beads. On glass, where it cannot soak in, the drops reveal the hidden geometry of adhesion and cohesion. The world of physics writes its script right before your eyes, in lines of water. Yet beyond science, you feel the poetry of it. Each bead is a story, a brief life. Born in the sky, it traveled as vapor, gathered in a cloud, fell through air, landed here on this window, only to vanish again. A raindrop's journey is short, but it is eternal, for the cycle never ends. What you see tonight, someone else will drink tomorrow, and someone else will breathe in ages to come. You lean closer. The tapping grows louder. Within it, you hear the suggestion of words. A murmur, perhaps. A whisper threading itself between beats. It feels intimate, though you cannot understand the language. Your brain invents phrases to match the sound. Rest, it seems to say. Listen. Stay. This tendency to find words in noise has a name, pareidolia. It is the same reason you see faces in clouds, figures in shadows, stories in the stars. The mind is not satisfied with randomness. It seeks patterns, and in finding them, it gives comfort. Far from being a flaw, this is part of what makes us human. It is the root of imagination, the soil of art and myth. Tonight, it makes the rain into a voice. The window trembles gently in the wind, and you are reminded that sound is not only heard, but seen and felt. In laboratories, scientists use clad knee plates, thin surfaces sprinkled with sand, to reveal sound's patterns. When vibrations move through the plate, the sand arranges itself into intricate shapes, flowers and webs of geometry. Sound makes order visible. If you could dust your window with sand, the rain's music would appear as constellations before your eyes. You do not need to see them, though. You can imagine. Already, the tapping forms patterns in your thoughts, slow and repeating, like lullabies. You begin to wonder if the whispers you hear are only in your mind, or if the storm itself holds memory. Could the drops carry echoes of all the voices that ever breathed upon them? Could water remember? Science says water does not keep memory in the way we imagine. Molecules do not hold words, stories, or thoughts. But your body, made mostly of water, does. Neurons firing, synapses linking, electrical signals crossing a sea of fluid, your memories ride upon water inside you. Perhaps that is why rain feels so familiar, why whispers in its rhythm feel close. You and the storm are kin, shaped from the same substance. The whispers grow softer, fading back into the simple patter of drops. You rest your forehead against the cool glass. It is a comfort, like leaning against a friend's shoulder. Outside, the storm continues, endless yet gentle. Inside, you are safe, carried by sound. You realize, as you listen, that windows are more than walls of glass. They are thresholds. They let you look out while remaining within. They let the outside world speak to you without demanding you step into it. Tonight, the whispers of the rain arrive at your window like visitors, gentle, insistent, but not intrusive. They bring company, but also leave you your rest. And yet, as the sound continues, you notice something new. Beneath the tapping, beneath the whispers, another rhythm emerges. A sound not of water, but of steps. Slow, deliberate, echoing against stone. You lift your head, listening closely. The whispers fade, but the footsteps remain. The whispers fade, the glass grows quiet, and you step away from the window. The storm has not ended, but it has shifted. The rain falls more gently now, washing the world in silver light. The path leads you into a narrow alley, where the stones beneath your feet glisten like polished mirrors. Every step you take sends ripples of sound upward, echoes mingling with the rainfall. The air smells of wet stone, mineral, metallic, earthy. Rain draws out hidden scents, dissolving minerals, lifting dust from cracks, carrying the invisible chemistry of the ground to your senses. This is geosmin, a molecule released from soil and rock, the same that makes the earth smell alive after rain. With each breath, you taste the story of stone meeting water. You pause and listen. Behind you, there is another sound. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, spaced just after your own. At first you wonder if it is only the echo, the alley throwing your sound back at you, a delay in the air. But then, the rhythm shifts. The steps fall when you are still. They stop when you turn your head. Your heart beats faster, though the air itself is calm. Rain has a way of carrying sound differently, and your ears strain to make sense of what you hear. When droplets fall, they stir tiny vibrations in the air, altering how sound travels. The world becomes a resonant chamber. Stone, water, and sky shape the echoes. You keep walking, slowly. The footsteps return. A shadow of your own rhythm, but slightly apart, like a second heartbeat overlapping the first. You wonder about the science of echoes, how sound bounces off surfaces. In a narrow alley, waves collide, overlapping and interfering, creating new patterns of rhythm. Sometimes they cancel each other. Sometimes they amplify. It is possible that what you hear is only your own presence, multiplied by stone. Yet, it feels like more. The rain continues to fall, polishing every surface. Drops strike the cobblestones, each impact creating tiny splashes that shimmer in the dim light. If you were to look closely, you would see the physics at play. Each droplet spreads into a crown, rimmed with delicate spikes, before collapsing into a ring. Millions of these microbursts happen around you, an invisible symphony of liquid meeting solid. The alley itself seems alive. Water gathers at its edges, weaving into rivulets that flow downhill. They carry fragments of leaves, dust, and grit. Water is a collector, always moving, always taking memory with it. Every streamlet, no matter how small, seeks another, until together they become something greater. Even here, in this quiet alley, you can feel the pull toward rivers, toward seas. The stones glisten as though they remember their origin, carved from mountains, eroded grain by grain, and now washed again by rain. Still, the footsteps. You pause, placing your hand against the wall beside you. The surface is cold, slick with water. Beneath your fingertips, you feel the roughness of stone carved by tools long ago, weathered by time. Stone holds history. Some of these walls may be centuries old, each raindrop polishing them further, smoothing edges, wearing down hardness. Geologists call this weathering, the long dialogue between water and rock. What feels permanent is always changing. Perhaps the footsteps too are part of this dialogue. Perhaps they are simply sound stretched by the alley's long memory, stone repeating your rhythm as though reluctant to let it go. Or perhaps they belong to something else, something unseen. The thought lingers, but does not frighten. Instead, it slows you, brings you deeper into stillness. Your own heartbeat joins the rhythm of the rain. You think about how your body responds to such sounds. Studies show that rhythmic, natural noise lowers stress, slows pulse, releases tension. When you hear rain and echo, your nervous system shifts gently toward rest. The footsteps, real or imagined, become part of that rhythm, a second pulse, guiding you downward into calm. You walk on, each step careful, unhurried. The alley narrows further, the stones beneath your feet arranged like a mosaic of silver and shadow. Light from windows above falls in soft rectangles, bending through glass, scattering on droplets in the air. Each patch of light feels like a lantern, marking the way forward. Behind you, silence. The footsteps have paused. Perhaps they were never there. Or perhaps they wait, patient, in the folds of the rain. You reflect on how the mind works with uncertainty. In silence, the brain fills gaps with expectation. This is part of survival, to imagine what may be near, what may approach. A shifting shadow becomes a figure. A muffled echo becomes a step. This anticipation is not mistake, but instinct. It is the brain's way of weaving safety, preparing you for what might be. And in moments like this, it also becomes story. Rain and stone create the stage, and your mind paints the characters. Tonight, the footsteps are your companion, whether real or imagined. They remind you that you are not alone, even when the alley is empty. The storm deepens slightly, and you hear the water gathering in larger streams along the gutter. The sound is lower now, a rushing instead of tapping. You think of rivers, how they begin with raindrops such as these. Each step you take on the polished stones feels like walking beside the birth of a current. Soon the water will find its way to streams, then to rivers, then to seas. You are standing at the very beginning of that long journey. The footsteps return, faintly, then vanish again. They are like the sound of water itself, appearing, flowing, fading, returning. Always present, even when you cannot trace their source. You look down. The stones beneath you shine with reflections of the sky, as though they have become fragments of the river themselves. You realize that perhaps the footsteps are not behind you, but within you, the rhythm of blood, the echo of pulse, the steady reminder that you are alive, moving, part of this endless cycle of water and stone. The alley opens ahead, widening slightly. You feel the current of air shift, carrying the sound of water more strongly now. A deeper murmur, a flowing beneath the rain. You sense it before you see it, a river, hidden beyond the last turn of the path. The footsteps fade completely. There is only the rain, the stones, and the sound of water calling from ahead. You take one last slow breath in the alley. The air is damp, mineral, grounding. You exhale, and step toward the deeper sound, ready to follow where it leads. And somewhere, just beyond the alley's end, the river waits with its secret song. The alley opens, and the sound that has been whispering grows into a steady voice. The rain, gathering itself in countless droplets, has become a stream, and the stream has found the river. You stand at its edge now, where silver threads of water meet a darker, moving expanse. The river glides through the night like a body of breathing glass, its surface trembling under the touch of rain. The first thing you notice is the sound. The river does not simply flow. It sings. The pitch is low, continuous, almost like a hum that rises from the earth itself. Rain adds higher notes, pattering softly against the surface. Together, they weave a layered rhythm, a natural symphony. Scientists call this turbulence, the chaotic, swirling motion of water colliding with air, with rock, with itself. To the ear, it is music. To the body, it is a vibration that sinks into your chest, steadying the rhythm of your heart. You lean closer, listening. Beneath the rush, there are patterns. The human brain is wired to search for them. What seems like noise becomes whisper, becomes word. You imagine that the river is speaking names of those who walked this path before, names carried away, folded into the current's memory. Perhaps this is not only imagination. For the river does carry memory, though not in words. It carries fragments, minerals, soil, seeds, even the traces of life once lived upstream. Every molecule has a history. Every drop has been somewhere before. The air here is cooler, heavy with moisture. The mist curls around your face, and your skin prickles with chill. Your body reacts instinctively, blood vessels narrowing to keep warmth inside. This is the same reaction ancient travelers must have felt when they leaned too close to a midnight river, shivering as the water exhaled its cold breath. The science is simple: water absorbs and releases heat slowly, so it cools the air above it. But in this moment, it feels like something more, the river's voice reaching not only your ears, but your bones. You place your hand on a stone by the shore. It is slick with moss, damp with spray. Beneath its stillness, you sense motion and vibrations carried through rock, the resonance of water pressing, tumbling, rushing forward. This is energy in motion, the endless cycle of gravity pulling water downhill, of rivers carving valleys, of time itself etched into stone. You realize you are touching a piece of the planet's memory. The river speaks in rhythms older than language. The sound of water over rock has echoed for millions of years, long before the first human ear listened. And yet, every human who has listened has felt what you feel now, a mix of awe and surrender. Rivers do not rush for us, and yet they invite us to follow. You notice how the current moves. On the surface, ripples shimmer, each one reflecting light in a shifting, liquid pattern. Beneath, unseen, the flow is layered. Surface water slides faster, while deeper currents move slower, shaped by the contours of the riverbed. This layering is what gives the river its voice, its harmonics. Just as the strings of an instrument vibrate differently when plucked at different points, so too does water sing in layers. The river is, in truth, an instrument played by earth and sky together. You let yourself sink into its music. The mind, when listening to water, drifts naturally into slower rhythms. Studies have shown that such sounds lower brainwave activity, guiding you toward the gentle edge of sleep. The river becomes not only a presence outside you, but also inside you, your breath falling into time with its current, your pulse slowing to match its song. Yet the river is not only calm. It carries power, hidden within its steady voice. A single stream of water, given time, can carve mountains, split stone, carry forests away. Its song may soothe, but it is also a reminder of impermanence. Nothing stands against water forever. Everything, given enough time, must yield. Perhaps this is why the river feels like memory itself. It takes what is solid and makes it fluid. It turns stones into sand, turns stories into echoes, turns footsteps into whispers. You think of the people who may have walked here long before, leaning close as you do now, hearing the same music. Their bodies are gone, but perhaps the river carries traces, still atoms released into water, drifting far downstream, part of the endless circulation of life. For all its mystery, the river is also familiar. Your own body is mostly water. The same molecules that swirl here also flow within your veins. When you hear the river, you are hearing a reflection of yourself. The current that hums through the earth hums through you as well. You breathe deeply, filling your lungs with mist. The cool air settles you, even as your skin shivers. It is as though the river is coaxing you closer, asking you to listen, to lean in until you cannot tell where your breath ends and its voice begins. The night is quiet but for this song. The city behind you has faded. The footsteps in the alley are gone. Here, there is only water, and rain, and the endless hum of time moving forward. You close your eyes, and in the darkness, the river's voice seems stronger still. It shapes itself into questions. Where does the water come from? Where does it go? How far does this song travel, and who else might be listening at this very moment, somewhere downstream? You feel that if you followed it, walked along its banks, step by step, you would uncover the answer. The river would lead you outward, toward seas and oceans, toward horizons without end. But it might also lead you inward, toward the secret currents flowing in your own body, toward the hidden places of your memory. The river does not decide for you. It only sings. And you, listening, drift between wakefulness and dream. The rain continues to fall, feeding the current. The hum deepens, steady, unbroken. You sense that it carries you forward, though you remain still on its bank. It carries every listener, every traveler, every drop. The river never ceases, never rests. And so you stand here, caught in its music, until slowly you realize the song is not ending. It is only changing key, shifting into something softer, more intimate. A sound not of river, but of voice. Not outside, but beside you. A whisper, carried by the mist, the river fades behind you, its song still threading through your thoughts. You step into the dark, mist trailing at your heels, until a shape takes form in the distance. A roof, pitched and steep. A door, half-shadowed. A cabin, small and unassuming, as though it had been waiting all this time. You approach slowly. The air is damp, carrying the scent of pine, wet earth, and something older would soak through with memory. The door yields with a soft groan, and you step inside. At once, the sound changes. The rain, still heavy outside, becomes muffled, reshaped. No longer falling upon your skin, it drums the roof instead, scattering across shingles like fingers tapping a drum. The cabin gathers the storm, translates it into music, low vibrations in the floorboards, soft rattles in the glass, sighs from timbers expanding and contracting in the wet night air. You stand still, listening. The cabin itself feels alive, like an instrument tuned by weather and time. You are not only inside shelter, you are inside sound. The wooden walls breathe faintly. This is not imagination. Wood, though cut and dried, is never truly lifeless. It remains porous, sensitive, taking in and releasing moisture. As rain presses against the cabin, the walls respond. Fibers swell, joints creak, faint movements ripple through the frame. You are surrounded by the slow respiration of material that once stood as a tree. You touch the nearest plank. It is cool, ridged with grain, the growth rings of a life measured in circles. Every year, the tree grew, its cells stretching outward, storing sunlight in cellulose and lignin. Those rings now hold a silent record of droughts, of floods, of seasons that came and went. To the eye, it is wood. To the memory of the forest, it is time incarnate. The floorboards sigh beneath your step. Each sound is a release of energy, small shifts in tension, a negotiation between weight and wood. You tread softly, aware that you are not only supported but also held in conversation. The cabin speaks in creaks and groans, the language of settling. A candle waits on a narrow table. Its wick, blackened with old flame, lights easily when touched with a match. The flame rises, fragile at first, then steadier, painting the cabin in a trembling amber glow. Shadows lean lone against the walls. They move as though alive, stretching and folding in time with the candle's breath. The flame itself is a tiny dance of chemistry. Heat breaks molecules of wax into fragments. Carbon and hydrogen atoms meet oxygen from the air, and together they burn, releasing light and warmth. What appears as softness, a flicker, a glow, is in truth rapid reaction, molecules rearranging in fractions of seconds. Yet the mind, watching, sees only calm. You sit by the table, listening. The rain outside continues, steady and persistent, a choir of droplets. Each drop falls with its own rhythm, but together they create a kind of order. Physicists call this stochastic resonance randomness that, when layered, feels like pattern. What should be noise becomes music. What should be chaos becomes meditation. A draft stirs the candle. The flame leans, then straightens. The air itself is restless here, slipping through cracks in the walls, searching for balance. You notice the currents, a cool draft along the floor, a warmer rise near the flame. This is convection, the ceaseless movement of air driven by differences in temperature. It is invisible, yet you feel it brushing your skin, whispering past your hands. The cabin is empty, yet never silent. It hums with the dialogue of elements, wood expanding, air circulating, rain striking, wax burning. Even silence itself here feels like a living presence, the pause between sounds, the waiting space where your thoughts begin to echo more loudly than the storm. You lean back, closing your eyes. The rhythm of rain becomes a slow heartbeat against the roof. You wonder if this is why humans have always sought shelter in such places. Not only to escape weather, but to listen differently. Inside walls, sounds are softened, shaped, distilled. The mind, lulled, drifts closer to sleep. But then a new sound. A thud, faint, from somewhere deeper in the cabin. Perhaps a shutter shaken loose. Perhaps a branch falling. Or perhaps something else. The candlelight trembles, as though listening too. You rise and step softly across the room. Each floorboard bends and speaks beneath your weight. You feel their responses, some sharp, some low. The house is a map of sound, revealing your path with every movement. At the far wall, a window rattles in its frame. You place your hand against the glass. Cold seeps into your palm. Rain streaks down the other side, each droplet refracting the candle's glow into tiny, fleeting prisms. Light bends through water, splitting into colors that vanish before your eye can linger. The science is simple, yet the experience is not. It feels like touching the fleetingness of time itself. You return to the table. The candle is smaller now, wax dripping in slow rivulets, hardening as it cools. You notice how it pools, reshaping the surface beneath it. Every flame leaves its history carved in wax, just as every life leaves its shape carved in memory. The cabin sighs again. You imagine the people who may have sat here long ago, listening to storms of other nights. Perhaps they felt the same mixture of comfort and unease, safety wrapped around by the thin walls, yet the sense that something larger presses close outside. Your body responds to this environment in ancient ways. The warmth of the candle triggers a slight slowing of your heart. The rhythmic sound of rain helps synchronize your brainwaves, coaxing them into deeper, slower patterns. Even the faint creaks of wood remind you unconsciously of human voices, the way timbre and resonance carry through the ear. You are being lulled, gently, into a state between waking and sleep. You breathe in deeply. The cabin smells of resin, of damp ash, of wax. Every scent is a molecule, small and real, carried to receptors inside your nose. Your brain translates them into memory, a childhood fire, a long-forgotten walk in the rain, a voice by candlelight. The science of smell is precise, yet the effect feels like magic, doors opening inward, corridors you had forgotten you carried. The silence grows heavier now. Between drops, between sighs of the floor, between rattles of the window, the stillness thickens. It feels like presence. As though someone else listens with you, just out of sight. You cannot see them. You cannot hear them. But the awareness lingers, quiet and steady. You lean closer to the flame. The wax flickers, the wick trembles, the light folds. You think of how fragile all this is: fire, wood, air, rain, and yet how enduring. For thousands of years, humans have sat just like this, sheltered by wood, warmed by flame, listening to weather as night pressed close. You are part of this lineage, a listener in an endless chain. The candle gutters. Shadows stretch further, darker, almost swallowing the room. You are left with faint outlines: the table, the wall, the trembling window. The rain drums harder, then softer, then steadier again, like a hand stroking the edge of thought. And in that fading glow, in that deepening silence, you feel the cabin lean closer to you. Not physically, but in awareness. As though it wishes to tell you something. As though in its walls and floorboards and timbers lies a message not yet spoken. You wait. You breathe. You listen. The silence thickens again. It feels like a held breath, as if the cabin itself is deciding whether to speak. You lean forward, drawn by the space between sounds, drawn into the question that lingers: what if silence is not empty at all, but a voice waiting to be heard? The cabin's silence lingers inside you long after you step back into the storm. The rain greets you again, cool and persistent, tracing your face, your hands, your shoulders. The forest seems darker now, but not unwelcoming. Trees bend with the weight of water, branches bowing like monks at prayer. Somewhere ahead, through mist and shadow, something looms. It takes shape slowly, arches of stone, rising above the river. A bridge. Its presence feels solemn, a work of patience and strength, carrying the memory of countless footsteps that once crossed. You move toward it, listening. The sound shifts as you near. Rain striking wood and leaves is replaced by rain striking stone. Droplets scatter against the arch, each impact magnified. The bridge hums softly, like a string plucked by invisible fingers. Water below joins in, slapping the base, echoing in deep resonance. The entire structure is an instrument, played by the weather. You step closer, hand brushing against the wall. Cold, rough, damp with moss. Each stone fits into another, held by gravity and friction more than mortar. Bridges like these survive because of physics. Weight pressing downward becomes force that flows outward, carried by the arch into the earth. What looks heavy is actually balance. What seems immovable is a flow of stress, distributed and released. You pause beneath the arch, where the sound gathers. Rain strikes above, water moves below, air rushes through narrow passageways. Every element finds a note, blending into a chorus that belongs only to this place. The bridge is not silent stone, it is a voice made of earth and time. The river beneath surges faster here, pulled narrow by the constriction of stone. Its current deepens, dark and opaque. You lean over the edge, watching ripples chase one another. At first, they look random. But the longer you gaze, the more you notice patterns. Interference, where waves meet and cancel, leaving calm patches. Resonance, where waves amplify one another, cresting higher. What seems chaotic is again a kind of order, hidden beneath motion. Then you notice them, shapes shifting beneath the surface. Not fish, not debris, but shadows. They ripple with the current, stretching, vanishing, returning. Your breath catches, but the river does not pause. The shapes never rise fully, never reveal themselves. They remain half seen, half suggested, as though belonging to another realm. Travelers tell stories of voices here. You listen. At first, you hear only the rain and the low thunder of water against stone. But then, between drops, between echoes, something softer. A tone. A murmur. Words, perhaps, though not in any language you recognize. It feels less like being spoken to and more like being remembered by something vast. You close your eyes, leaning into the sound. The river has carried countless names across centuries. Every voice that once called into its current left traces of vibration. Water remembers, not as memory does, but through physics. Sound travels as waves of pressure, and in water those waves linger longer, carried farther than in air. When you whisper into a river, the river holds your voice, stretches it, reshapes it, until it becomes part of its song. You imagine travelers long before you, pausing here, whispering their names to the water. Perhaps they believed the river carried those names into eternity. Perhaps the shadows beneath the bridge are made of such voices, echoes never fully gone, patterns repeating in the flow. A gust of wind sweeps under the arch, carrying spray to your skin. The bridge groans faintly, stones shifting by imperceptible degrees. You look up, tracing the line of its curve. It has stood against storms, floods, even seasons that sought to wear it away. Yet it still carries weight, still holds space for passage. Bridges are not only stone in geometry. They are acts of connection. They link what was once apart. They allow stories, people, and lives to move where they could not before. Even here, in this storm, the bridge stands as invitation to cross, to listen, to wonder. You place your hand against the wall again. Cold, yes, but steady. Beneath your palm, vibrations tremble faintly, the rain above, the current below, the echo of unseen voices. Your body joins the pattern. Your heartbeat adds its own quiet rhythm, small but present. For a moment, you are part of the bridge's song. You step further beneath the arch, where the sound is deepest. Here, echoes fold upon echoes. Your footsteps ring differently, stone returning your presence in sharper tones than soil or wood ever did. Acoustics shape perception. Beneath an arch, sounds stretch, linger, bounce. Even a whisper feels large. You exhale softly, and the air carries it upward, multiplying it, releasing it back to you. You listen again to the shadows. Their murmurs do not frighten you. Instead, they draw you into contemplation. If water carries voices, if stone amplifies them, if air reshapes them, then perhaps nothing spoken is ever truly gone. Perhaps every sound persists, transformed, hidden in patterns too subtle for ears to detect. The universe itself may be an archive, holding on to vibrations long after the voices have faded. You lean closer to the river. Droplets sting your face, spray chills your fingers. The shadows shift again, just at the edge of recognition. Your mind names them ghosts, but your body knows they are physics, light bending through water, currents refracting shapes, turbulence painting illusions. Still, illusion does not weaken the mystery. It makes it richer, like dreams that hold truths beyond logic. The rain thickens. Sheets of silver fall around you, pounding the bridge until it vibrates in low resonance. This is structure-born sound, engineers would say, energy moving through matter, turning stone into an instrument. But to you, it feels like the bridge is singing, a hymn born of storm and endurance. You step back into the open, standing where bridge meets earth. Looking across, the far side is veiled in mist, almost unreal. Bridges are always thresholds, between here and there, between known and unknown. To cross is to trust, to release the ground beneath you and place faith in the span that holds you. Your feet meet stone, and you begin to cross. Each step strikes the bridge with a quiet rhythm, joining rain and resonance. The shadows move below, following your passage, or perhaps leading it. You do not hurry. Each step is measured, part of the unfolding song. Halfway across, you pause. The river surges loudest here, water colliding with stone, spray rising high. The air tastes of minerals, sharp and clean. You inhale, and it fills you, as though the bridge itself breathes through you. Your eyes trace the curve of the arch overhead. It is elegant, yet sturdy, a balance between tension and release. Bridges embody mathematics, but they also embody hope, a human wish to overcome separation. What began as stone quarried from earth becomes connection, carrying more than weight. It carries longing, passage, and continuity. The shadows ripple once more. A voice, or perhaps an echo, brushes your hearing. It does not demand, it does not command. It simply asks, soft as water, what will you carry across? The question lingers. Not only what you carry in hands, but what you carry in memory, in thought, in silence. Every crossing is a choice of what to bring, what to leave behind, what to release into the river below. You breathe, and the bridge sings around you. Rain falls harder, then softer, then steadies again, weaving you into its rhythm. At last, you step forward. Each stone holds your weight. Each echo joins your presence. The far bank waits, mist swirling, the unknown quiet but patient. Behind you, the river continues. Beneath you, the shadows never surface. Ahead of you, the rain thins, as though guiding you onward. And as you cross the final stones, you feel the question deepen when the bridge ends. What silence will be waiting on the other side? The bridge lingers behind you, its echo still humming in your bones. Rain continues, steady and patient, guiding you onward. You walk along the bank, through grasses flattened by water, until the outline of another structure takes shape through mist. At first it seems like a ruin, blurred by sheets of falling rain. But as you draw closer, it reveals itself, a house. Not an ordinary house, but one that seems born of the storm itself. Its roof drips in countless threads, like strings of a harp being plucked by invisible fingers. Its walls do not keep the rain out but allow it to seep through, dark veins tracing downward in quiet motion. Windows glow faintly, as though lit not by fire but by reflection, the shimmer of droplets catching light. You pause at the threshold. The air around it feels charged, as if the house itself breathes moisture. You step inside. The sound does not lessen. Instead, it changes. Rain that fell in chaos outside is transformed here into rhythm. Each drop that strikes a beam, a sill, a stone, adds to a layered composition. Some are sharp taps, others hollow thuds, still others soft whispers against fabric. The entire house is an instrument, its body resonating with weather. You realize, this house is not shelter from the rain, but shelter of the rain. It does not resist the storm, it becomes it. You move slowly through its halls. Floors creak, carrying the weight of waterlogged wood. Candles flicker, their flames bending toward drafts that snake through cracks. Shadows lean across the walls, stretched and softened by moving light. Each shadow seems to tell a fragment of a story, a memory of someone who once paused here, listening as you do now. A door opens ahead, not onto another room, but onto more rainfall. Beyond it, a narrow courtyard glistens, stones shining under the downpour. Rain gathers in shallow pools, sending up ripples that travel outward like expanding circles of thought. You watch one drop fall into a pool. The impact spreads in rings, pushing outward until they meet rings from another drop. Interference patterns appear, peaks amplifying, troughs canceling, a delicate mathematics of motion. This is how sound works, too, you remember. Waves overlapping, blending, erasing, or amplifying. The House of Rain is not only about water, it is also about listening. Each droplet is both percussion and memory, each pool both mirror and archive. You wander deeper. In one room, the ceiling leaks in steady rhythm. Drip. 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 You count the interval, nearly precise, though not exact. Your mind begins to anticipate the next drop, and when it comes early or late, you feel it. This is the brain's rhythm making, its search for pattern. Rain becomes not only sound but time itself, carving moments into sequence. Another room hums with a different music, gutters rushing, water traveling through narrow channels before spilling into basins. The sound is lower here, a murmur rather than a tap. The contrast reminds you of how frequency works. High frequencies, like quick drips, capture attention. Low frequencies, like rushing flow, wrap around you, felt more in the body than in the ear. Together, they form a spectrum, the rain's orchestra playing across scales. As you walk, the house seems to shift. Walls stretch farther than they should. Corridors turn back on themselves. Doors you thought you closed now stand open again, letting in new drafts, new streams of rain. You realize the house is less a building and more a labyrinth. Its blueprint is written not in timber and stone, but in cycles of weather. The house expands when the rain intensifies, contracts when it softens, reshaping itself like a lung breathing. You touch a wall. Moisture seeps against your palm, cool and alive. The wall feels less like wood than skin, porous, carrying sensation inward. Science explains this simply: capillary action. Water climbs through fibers, drawn upward and sideways by tension between molecules. But here, in this house, it feels like something more. The house drinks as you do, takes in rain as nourishment, holds it in its bones. You enter a chamber where the sound is hushed. Drops do not fall here, instead, water slides silently down angled panes of glass. Outside, lightning flashes. The glass shivers, reflecting branching veins of light across the floor. For an instant, the room becomes both storm and stillness, illumination held in fragile film. You realize you are inside a metaphor made real, a house where water is not intruder but essence. Rain itself is memory, after all. Each droplet once lifted from ocean, lake, or soil, rising as vapor, gathering into cloud, drifting across sky. Now it falls again, returning to ground, carrying the history of evaporation and condensation. The water touching your skin has traveled endlessly, through rivers, through clouds, through creatures. What you drink tonight may once have flowed through a glacier, or fallen as monsoon centuries ago, or moved through the veins of a tree. The House of Rain is built from this cycle. It reminds you that nothing is wasted, nothing lost. Every drop is recycled endlessly, reshaped but never destroyed. This is not only poetry, it is science, the hydrological cycle itself, the planet's circulatory system. To stand in this house is to stand inside Earth's bloodstream. You climb a narrow staircase. Water trickles along the steps, guiding you upward. At the landing, a door hangs ajar. Beyond it is an attic space where the roof opens to the storm. Rain falls directly through a broken beam, splashing into a bucket below. The rhythm is hypnotic, faster, slower, faster again. You watch the bucket fill, water darkening, surface rippling with each new impact. There is a lesson here: containment. The bucket holds, but only for a while. Overflow is inevitable. Systems, like vessels, have limits. Too much, and they spill. In nature, floods remind us of this balance. In the mind, emotions do the same. Holding too tightly leads to overflow. Releasing, like rainfall soaking into earth, restores equilibrium. You sit for a while, listening. The bucket, the beam, the drops, the echoes. Each sound layers upon the next, until silence seems as present as noise. You notice how silence is not absence here. It is the pause between drops, the space where anticipation grows, the quiet that makes the next sound meaningful. Silence is part of the rain's architecture, just as empty rooms are part of the house. You descend again, and the house feels different. Shadows move more freely, slipping across walls as though untethered. You think of how light bends through water, refracting angles, making shadows shift unpredictably. Science explains it as physics, but your body feels it as presence, stories hidden in the corner of vision, waiting to be heard. In the central hall, you find a table. Upon it, bowls of water reflect candlelight. The flames waver, fractured into many trembling images. You lean closer, and for a moment your own face joins them, rippling across the surface. You hardly recognize yourself, stretched and multiplied by motion. The rain has written its story onto you, too. You wander further. Rooms blur together, each more dreamlike. In one, curtains billow though windows are closed. In another, staircases vanish into darkness. Somewhere above, thunder rolls, but it sounds like distant footsteps. You realize the house is teaching you to surrender certainty, to dwell in wonder. Rain is unpredictable, yet patterned, chaotic, yet cyclical. The house mirrors this paradox, asking you not to solve it but to rest inside it. At last, you return to the threshold. The storm outside has softened, though rain still falls. The house seems quieter, as if its pulse has slowed. You look back once more. Roof dripping, walls seeping, windows glowing. A structure alive with water, alive with memory. You step outside. The night greets you gently now. The storm has loosened, leaving mist that curls low to the ground. Every surface glimmers. Trees drip softly, soil exhales the earthy scent of renewal. The rhythm of the house remains in you, the way rain became heartbeat, the way silence became music. You walk away slowly, carrying its presence. And yet, as the sound fades behind you, a new sensation emerges. The air ahead grows still. The rain thins to drizzle, then almost stops. In the distance, you sense something different, not the fullness of sound, but its opposite. A quiet that is not empty, but alive. The thought takes hold gently, as though whispered by the house itself, what waits for you in the silence that breathes. The rain has slowed, though its rhythm still lingers in your body from the house you left behind. Mist clings low across the road, curling like pale smoke, hiding the edges of the world. The air feels charged, as though the storm is holding its breath, waiting for the next movement. Then lightning cracks open the sky. For a brief instant, the path ahead is illuminated, trees bending under water's weight, ground shining like polished stone, and there, a figure. A silhouette, standing where the mist is thickest. The light vanishes, and you are left with only darkness and the steady sound of rain. But you know you are not alone anymore. Step by step, the figure begins to move toward you. Their outline wavers, blurred by rain. You cannot see their face, only the shape of a person carved from shadow and stormlight. Their silence feels heavier than the thunder that follows, as though it carries its own gravity. You wait, breathing slowly, listening. Science tells you that storms heighten the senses. Pressure drops before thunderheads form, and your body responds without permission, heart quickening, skin tingling, breath sharpening. Instinct sharpened over ages when lightning meant danger, when shelter meant survival. But here, the danger feels distant. The figure brings not fear, but a strange anticipation. Another flash. Their outline grows sharper. You notice the way droplets stream down their coat, the way their steps leave prints that quickly vanish under new rainfall. Every step erases itself. It is as though they are walking not through a storm, but through time itself, leaving no trace except the moment of presence. You realize how fleeting all footprints are. Rain smooths sand. Rivers polish stone. Even mountains wear away under the patient touch of water. Time itself is a storm, washing clean what once seemed permanent. The stranger becomes a living reminder of impermanence, near, then gone, leaving only memory. Your breath slows as they draw closer. You try to catch details, but the rain blurs everything. The human brain is designed to complete unfinished pictures, to turn half-seen shadows into faces, half-heard sounds into voices. This is pareidolia, the tendency to find meaning in uncertainty. Looking at the stranger, you feel it strongly. You cannot see their features, yet you imagine them. The storm becomes a canvas, and your mind paints the rest. Perhaps that is what meeting another person always is, filling in the spaces between what they show and what you sense. Each of us is a mystery, carried like a lantern wrapped in cloth, light seeping through but never fully revealed. The thunder deepens, rolling longer now. Between each flash of lightning, you measure the seconds before sound arrives. 1, 2, 3. Science explains this gap. Light travels almost instantly, but sound crawls slower, about 300 meters each second. Each count between flash and rumble tells you the distance of the storm. Tonight, it hovers close, circling. The stranger stops a few paces away. The rain cascades between you, a veil that both separates and connects. You listen to its rhythm, steady yet unpredictable, and feel that you are inside a conversation without words. What is spoken here is not language, but presence. The storm itself seems to translate every drop carrying a fragment of feeling, every gust of wind shifting silence into expression. You sense weight in their nearness, as though they bring a story not yet told. And you wonder, how many stories walk the world untold, carried silently in the hearts of strangers, hidden by weather, by circumstance, by time? The stranger lifts their head slightly, and for the first time, you sense the direction of their gaze. It is not on you, but through you past, beyond, into the unseen. It reminds you of how rain refracts light, bending straight lines into arcs. Perhaps their story bends too, never direct, always arriving at you through distortion. You stand together, and the storm folds itself around you both. Somewhere deep within the thunder, you hear a subtle order. Chaos is never truly chaotic, it follows patterns hidden too wide for one moment to reveal. Lightning forks in branches that echo the growth of trees, rivers, even neurons. Turbulence dances with fractals, repetition within irregularity. The stranger, too, seems part of this design, an unpredictable arrival, yet fitting perfectly within the rhythm of rain. Your body relaxes. You realize you do not need to know their face, or their story, or their name. The encounter itself is the meaning. In the same way that a raindrop does not need to explain its path to river or sea, the presence of another being, however brief, carries its truth in the simple act of appearing. The figure shifts, as though preparing to speak, but the storm steals the sound. Wind rises, pushing rain sideways in shimmering sheets. Lightning glances across their outline once more, then fades. And in that fading, you sense choice. Will they remain? Will they pass? Will they dissolve back into the storm? It occurs to you that every meeting is like this. Every friend, every stranger, every loved one. Each approaches out of mist, illuminated briefly, never fully knowable, then continues onward. Connection is a moment, not a possession. A pause within the river's flow. You take a step closer, not to close the distance, but to accept it. Water runs between you both, soaking earth, pooling in shallow depressions. You notice how drops striking the surface merge instantly, no boundaries once they touch. And you think, Perhaps humans are like this too. Separate in form, merging in feeling, whenever silence allows. The stranger does not move. Neither do you. Yet something passes between you, quieter than words, softer than rain. It is not a revelation, but a reminder, presence is enough. Then, as suddenly as they appeared, the stranger begins to walk again, this time past you, not toward you. Their steps dissolve into the sound of water, their figure swallowed by mist. Soon, you cannot tell whether they were ever there at all. Only the rhythm of rain remains, as though the storm has closed a book it briefly opened. You stand in the road, listening. The silence they leave behind is heavier than their presence. It presses gently, like a question unanswered, like a note unresolved. You find yourself breathing deeper, steadier, not out of fear, but out of wonder. For in the hush that follows, you realize the storm has changed. Its center has shifted. Thunder grows fainter, lightning more distant. The weight in the air lightens, as though inviting you onward. Ahead, you sense something waiting, not a figure, not a house, not even a sound. But a stillness. And you wonder, what will it mean, to walk into the quiet that lingers after the storm? The storm that once roared around you is thinned into gentleness. What was once a furious percussion is now a quiet tapping, scattered and uncertain. Raindrops fall one by one, as though the sky itself has grown tired. You stand still, listening. The air carries the smell of wet earth, rich, deep, almost sweet. It feels like breathing in the memory of the world. The last stages of a storm are always slower, quieter, more reflective. Meteorologists sometimes call it the decay phase, when clouds lose their strength, when energy disperses, when the towering columns of air that fed the thunder collapse into softness. But to you, it feels less like decay and more like surrender. As if the sky has decided to rest. You notice the way each drop hits the ground with its own voice. Some land in puddles, making expanding circles. Some fall onto leaves, trembling there before sliding off, joining the soil. A few strike your skin directly, cool and light, reminding you of how thin the boundary really is between body and world. Each drop is its own ending, and yet none are truly final. They join rivers, seep underground, rise again as mist. Nothing is lost. You tilt your head upward. The clouds are breaking apart, gray edges torn into lace. Through the gaps, a paler light emerges, diffuse and gentle. Not the harsh sun of midday, but the hesitant glow of something beginning again. Light after storm always feels different. It scatters through lingering droplets, bending into subtle halos, faint arcs of color that last only for moments. Science calls this refraction, but you feel it as a kind of quiet blessing. The rhythm slows further. You begin to hear spaces between drops, pauses where silence holds more weight than sound. It reminds you of the final notes of a song, when music is no longer in the melody but in the silence it leaves behind. Your body relaxes into this pause, into the sense that everything has reached a softer balance. It is in this stillness that you realize, storms shape more than landscapes. They shape memory. The thunder lingers in your chest, the rhythm of rain in your breath, the flashes of lightning in your imagination. Even when skies clear, the body remembers. Scientists call this entrainment, the way external rhythms tune the internal. Your heartbeat, your brainwaves, even the pace of your thoughts can align with the pulse of rain. You are, in a quiet way, an echo of the storm. You walk slowly, feet sinking into softened ground. Mud pulls gently at your steps, reminding you that Earth is alive, changing. Every storm rearranges it. Rivers shift course. Valleys deepen. Seeds, hidden for months, begin to swell and break open. Life waits for water's signal. A single storm can awaken fields of green. The world knows how to listen. And so do you. You pause under a tree, its leaves dripping steadily. The sound is different here, sharper, faster, a scattering rhythm like beads poured onto wood. You realize that each surface shapes rain into its own voice. Roofs rattle. Stone rings. Soil sighs. In the same way, each person shapes the stories they carry, the same storm told in 1,000 different tones. You are surrounded by a choir of endings. Your thoughts drift to the physics of the last drop. Raindrops form when invisible water vapor gathers into clusters, growing heavy enough to fall. At the end of a storm, the atmosphere holds less and less of this hidden weight. Each drop you hear is a final release, the atmosphere giving away its last secret. And yet, even when the sky empties, moisture remains, unseen, waiting for the next rise. The cycle does not end. It only rests. The drizzle thins again. You listen harder, straining to hear what is almost silence. Each drop is more distinct now, as if the storm is counting itself down. 4, 3, 2, 1. The last drop falls. You do not see where it lands, but you hear it, a single sound, vanishing almost as soon as it begins. Then nothing. Only the faint hush of wind through wet branches. Only silence. And in that silence, something extraordinary happens. Your body feels lighter. The tension in your chest dissolves. The mind, once filled with echoes and questions, opens into wide stillness. You realize the storm was not only outside, but within. Its fading mirrors your own release. The silence after is not emptiness. It is fullness without weight. Neuroscience offers an explanation. Silence activates networks in the brain that repair, integrate, restore. In stillness, the mind is not inactive but deeply active, weaving scattered impressions into coherence. Just as the storm cleared the air, silence clears you. You breathe slowly. Inhale damp earth. Exhale lingering thunder. Somewhere nearby, a bird begins to sing. Its voice is hesitant, like a musician testing strings after an interruption. Others join, a fragile chorus weaving itself into the hush. Life returns cautiously, as if listening for the sky's permission. You are part of this return. Each breath is a small song, each heartbeat a quiet percussion. Walking again, you notice how the world glows differently after rain. Surfaces shine with a clarity that feels new. Even the smallest things, a pebble, a blade of grass, glimmer as though washed of their history. This is not illusion. Rain rinses dust from the air, scatters particles, resets what you see. After storms, visibility often improves. Science explains it, but wonder feels larger. You are walking through a world briefly reborn. The road stretches ahead, calmer now. The storm that once filled it with mystery has passed, leaving only stillness. Yet you sense its presence still, not as sound, but as memory, as echo, as lesson. The last drop has fallen, but the story remains. And you realize something important: endings are never final. They are pauses, openings, shifts. The last drop is not the end of water. It is part of a circle, flowing toward rivers, seas, clouds, storms yet to come. You are standing in the middle of a cycle that has no true conclusion. You let this truth settle into you like warmth. The storm has ended. But its essence continues, in the soil beneath your feet, in the air you breathe, in the rhythm still moving quietly through your body. Even silence carries it forward. You rest for a moment on the side of the path. The world is hushed, but not empty. You feel the echo of everything that is past: the cabin, the bridge, the house of rain, the stranger in the storm. Each moment has flowed into the next, like water following its course. You have been carried. You are still being carried. The sky above begins to brighten. It does not hurry. It expands slowly, as though testing its own calm. And you, too, expand within it, breathing deeper, softer. The storm has ended, but its memory has not. For even as silence surrounds you, somewhere else, clouds are gathering again. Somewhere beyond this horizon, rain is forming, drops preparing to fall, thunder rehearsing its return. Another story is waiting, carried in the unseen weight of the sky. You do not know when it will arrive. You only know it will. And you wonder, when the next storm finds you, what shape will its story take?